Yes, guys, what's going on? Welcome to Adam McKola TV. I am Adam. Today on Master Debaters, that's the name of this show. Every single Wednesday, it's me, Joe Smith from Stretford, Paddock, and of course, D from Straight Up. What is going on, fellas?
I'm good. How are you doing?
All good, man. What's happening, D?
Quarantined off it, innit? Like, it's on lockdown currently, innit? Like, the thing is, I've got a hat on, but I see all the United players copying my trim and that going for that, but the Barthez trim.
What about I'm trying to catch you up, Dean, at the moment.
You're trying to catch now. Yours looks like a one. Yours looks like a 2 or something.
Yeah, that's not a razor, is it? You've left a guard on there. Some sort of guard is still on there. Yeah. I didn't know. By the way, I didn't know this was called Master Debaters when I agreed to come on. By the way, so that's news to me. Disgusting.
Are you leaving?
Disgusting. No, I'm not. I'll stay, but disgusting.
I've heard you're a great Master Debater, Joe.
I am actually. Yeah, I've got my special
general knowledge. He kills it, and I saw that quiz on Steve's channel. Absolutely maxed it.
Cheers, mate.
Oh yeah, the one where I went on and embarrassed myself. That was.
I remember that was good. That
was fun. To be fair, it was like what day was it? A Saturday night?
Yeah.
Like 10 o'clock. I wasn't in a condition to be quizzed by anybody.
On another planet.
Here today, we're going to having a master debate on the United's greatest captain, or United's greatest captain rather. Who do we think United's greatest captain is? We've had so many great captains down the year, and just even if you're looking at the Premier League era or since around that time, you're looking at Bryan Robson, Eric Cantona, Roy Keane, Gary Neville. We've had the likes of Van der Sar, Vidic, Ferdinand. We've had so many great captains over the years. Ashley Young. There's another one. I'm sure Steve will be happy about his mention in this video.
Sure. Gotta get a mention.
He'll be buzzing about this. So we're here to debate who is the greatest captain of all time. Now the lads, I know who the lads have picked, but for the people at home, who are you choosing to defend today, Joe?
It's got to be Eric Cantona, isn't it? It's got to be Eric Cantona. It's the best captain we've ever had, certainly in the Premier League era, certainly since Ferguson, that kind of in the most successful time in United's history. He's the best captain in that time, easily.
Dean, who are you defending?
Well, I'm gonna go for Man United's most successful captain, which is Roy Keane. So I'll be defending Roy Keane to the death.
To the death. I normally would pick Roy Keane, but today I'm not even upset about this. I have Bryan Robson to defend. I am going for Bryan Robson. It might have been easier for me to win votes in the comments, and obviously everyone on YouTube is a little bit younger. It might have been easier for me to go Rio or Vidic, but I'm going to go for Bryan Robson. My dad would have you believe he's the greatest captain of all time, and a lot of Reds would. So I'm going to be battling it out for Bryan Robson on today's show. First things first, let's go to Joe. Joe, why Eric Cantona?
He's the most influential captain United have ever had. I know, like you said about Roy Keane, he's the most successful. He won the most trophies. He won the treble, that kind of thing. But Roy Keane won those trophies with a side that had already got used to winning. And the reason they got used to winning is because of Eric Cantona. They hadn't won the title for 26 years. He came in and won 4 titles in 5 years. The only reason he didn't win that 5th title is because he was suspended. It's not, when you look at great captains, like I said, all 3 of these people and captains are great captains. I'm not here trying to slag off Roy Keane or Bryan Robson by any means, but when you talk about what a captain's job is, to inspire the team around him, to take a team from this level to this level, no one has ever done that for Man United like Roy Keane. 26 years without a title, like Eric Cantona, sorry, you're getting me confused there. 26 years without a title, comes in, like I said, 4 and 5 years. There's no one that's ever done that at United, and it is clearly the most influential and best captain we've ever had.
I'm a big fan of Eric Cantona, and I do think he had a huge influence on the class of '92, which obviously had a knock-on effect on how they did in their careers and the influence that rubbed off on them. And he's obviously credited with a lot of that as well, innit? But as a footballer, Cantona was different gravy as well. He didn't really need an armband, did he? None of these fellas did.
None of them did.
But Eric Cantona, like he didn't have to have the armband to be that character and be that influence, because it wasn't like in terms of bollocking people on the pitch, even though he could do it. It wasn't that kind of thing. It wasn't it was just Eric Cantona was a leader. He kind of stood there with his chest out, and anyone could follow him into battle. But he wasn't the stereotypical leader, was he?
Well, like I said, he was more than just, shouting at people, screaming at people, telling people what to do. But he set the example by being the best player. I didn't even mention him as a player. I was literally just talking about him as a captain before, what he brings, the way he changed the culture of the club. But as a player, 81 goals, 62 assists in, I think, 180 games for United. So it's like he got an equal amount of goals and assists. He wasn't just taking all the limelight, scoring all the goals. He was making goals for everyone else as well. And like I said, a good point about the class of 92, he came through when these young promising kids, 5 or 6 of them were brought into the team at once, or sort of over a couple of years, but essentially at once in terms of the career of a player. And he sort of helped mould those young lads with the help of the coaches and that kind of thing. But he took them from being these youngsters coming through the youth team to being some of the best players in the world and winning titles at the same time, which is almost impossible to do. And I think he was the main reason United did that.
What do you reckon about Eric the King, Dean?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just adding to the points, man. I mean, I think a lot of it was that Eric did was take the pressure off everyone else. He took the limelight, and he just took it in his stride. And I think again, even looking back at a lot of the class of the '92, the way they spoke about him, and the dressing room which they came into, it took a lot of pressure off them. And again, he's as much as we're talking about him as the captain, again, it's like some of these things, like it's the aura of Eric Cantona that held so much weight. And like I say, for me, it's mad that I'm backing Roy Keane in this argument, but Cantona is the reason I support Man United. So he is massive. But I mean, there's nothing. I mean, the superlatives I could say for Cantona wouldn't end. I mean, for me, like I say, he's the reason I support Man United. The reason I watch football.
It's the reason a lot of people fell in love with it as well. Like,
yeah, 100%. I mean, he was a marvel on the pitch and off the pitch. He's for me, like I say, I can't speak high enough of Eric Cantona. I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah, he was special. He was a different gravy, man. I think that's the important thing to point out. Even though we're battling for our individual captains here, we all, love every single one of these players, because without them, not much goes down at Manchester United. Dean, your player, Roy Keane, Dean and Keane.
Yeah.
What you reckon about why Roy Keane for you? Because when I text you, like, you kind of had first dibs almost, and you were like, Roy Keane without a doubt. Even though, like you said, Eric Cantona made you fall in love with football, made you support Manchester United.
Yeah, I mean, it's mad because, I mean, my first thoughts of Cantona isn't as Man United captain because, again, as you say, he was not that he was bigger than the captain's role, but that's not the first thing that comes to my head. However, when you're talking captains, it probably is Keane that pops to my head, being that he's the most successful captain that we've had. I mean, a lot of the younger viewers you probably know him for like the scuffles he had with Vieira and that tackle against Haaland, bitch slapping Alan Shearer, and obviously his red card record. But obviously, looking at his career, Roy Keane's career is ridiculous. I mean, 7 Premier League titles, 4 FA Cups. He won the Champions League. He got the yellow card to get him out of the final in the semi-final against Juve away. Was the man of the match against the midfield of Zidane, Davids, Deschamps. Like, absolutely took the game by the scruff of the neck. Got the goal for us to get us on the way. He's been Samat Bosby Player of the Year a few times, notably in 2000, around that time, obviously, when we won the treble. I mean, for me, Roy Keane is ridiculous. I mean, even that, a lot of people, it's like they're trying to take away from his technical ability, but Roy Keane was very tidy. I mean, I think it was Wayne Rooney suggested that he had one of the best touches he'd seen, like, as a player. And obviously, Wayne Rooney's played with, your Ronaldos, Carlos Tevez, all these different players he's played with at United, and he named Roy Keane. So for me, I mean, again, looking a lot of the things again to forget is I mean, his goal return and his assists. If you're comparing him to this day and age, probably they don't really fall in line. However, the day and age he was in, he was a box-to-box midfielder. I mean, we don't really have them now. We have like people who are either sitting midfielders or they're attacking midfielders. He's kind of the last of a dying breed, box-to-box. Did absolutely everything. Like I said, to me, he was a natural born leader, regardless if he had the armband or not. He led by example. Like I said, the list goes on. What Roy Keane did. Again, I think Joe mentioned with Cantona raising the level of players. I think when Roy Keane was playing, I think the players around him were not forced, but because of Roy Keane's performances, I think they raised their performances also. And I think he was imperative to that time under Fergie with us winning titles, and without Keane, I mean, there was, like I said, there was other players who maybe you could argue are technically better than him. However, for me, his all-round attributes just outmatched anyone, and he was, like I say, he was probably the cornerstone of that team under Fergie from the 90s going into the early 2000s.
100%. Roy Keane, he was amazing. It was almost Fergie on the pitch, really, Joe. Yeah,
it was when you, like I say, when you talk about captains, there are different styles of captains. Cantona being this sort of ethereal, look up to him. He's this sort of god that's on the pitch kind of thing, but not necessarily screaming demands. When you think of a traditional, like, if you do the wrong thing, you will get absolutely leathered, not just verbally, physically. He'll batter you. That is the epitome of that type of captain is Roy Keane, and I think, like you mentioned before, because he is known for that. Even now, you see him on Sky Sports News, and he's like on Sky Sports, he's like the boss of the studio, even though he's only in there every month or so. He comes in and was like, "What do you reckon, Roy?" Like looking at the corner of the eye in case he gives him the glare. And I think because of that, like you alluded to before, some people do doubt how good he was, his quality. But the way, like you mentioned, the Juventus game is the classic one. That's sort of his, probably the kind of pinnacle of him as a player. But it just sums up so many games like that where he just took the game by the scruff of the neck, and it felt like he's not gonna let us lose this. And there were very few players where you think when they decide that you aren't going to lose, you won't lose. And he was one of those players. And yeah, there's nothing you can compare to that, really. That kind of just the will to win and the quality to back it up as well. Yeah, absolutely amazing player.
People always remember that night in Turin as well. But he did that so many times, and that people don't remember. He was just that good, and like you say, because he was so good as a leader, because he did those things so well, people forget how good of a footballer he was. His passing ability was second to none. Someone did it on Twitter. They did like a video of him. I can't remember what the game was, but they were like, "You think Roy Keane's not a footballer? Watch this." And it was like his passing and just picking it up from deep, running forward with the ball, spraying a pass. And he had all of that. And like the to be a box and box midfielder as well. In midfield with him to protect him. He was usually the general in terms of, I'll clean up everything, and Scholesy can do the bits as well. And he was everything for United. An absolutely unbelievable captain, and he kept everything in order. So yeah, right. We've been spoilt with these captains, man.
Exactly, and there's a good bit as well on one of the Sky Sports things recently, where someone said to him, "How did you, just having two people in midfield, you and Scholes, how did you decide, what?" And he went, "If I went, he stayed, and if he went, I stayed." And it was just like they were that good that was the tactics. You go, I'll stay. I'll go, you stay, and they won. The treble, and that was their midfield tactic. So,
but that's a
testament to the quality of them.
They do say that great coaches and great players have the ability to just simplify things and do it, and that's almost it to like proper basic level. But it's just simple, isn't it? Like one goes, one drops, one goes, one drops. So when you play with each other for so long, you're going to build that kind of relationship. It was interesting because Keno getting injured gave Scholesy his chance in midfield. Because Scholesy was obviously a centre forward, and when Keno done his ligaments, Scholesy dropped back, and then the rest is history. He come back and they created a great partnership. Because I think there was times just before Keno came in, like when McClare was being used in midfield and Robbo was being phased out because of his injuries, and Keane will come in and just settled everything. So yeah, Cantona, Keane. Obviously, I'm left with Bryan Robson, and the reason I've gone with Bryan Robson, I mean, the man's nickname's Captain Marvel. When your nickname's Captain, like you don't have to have much of an argument. You know what I mean? Like your nickname is Captain Marvel. Like he was just an unbelievable player for club and country. Obviously, he didn't win as many trophies as Roy Keane did. Roy Keane's the most decorated captain for Manchester United, but what he did do, I think, was a lot of settling the foundations for what followed in terms of Cantona and then Roy Keane. And I don't think without Bryan Robson's influence, you eventually get that kind of knock-on effect. But if you just look at him as a captain, he was like Cantona and Roy Keane rolled into one, is what the older Reds will say. In terms of that, yes, he did his leading by example on the pitch and he would fly into challenges. And you hear about Ryan Giggs with stories of like a fullback giving him one and then Robbo saying, hold on a sec, you come and drop into midfield and I'm just going to go over there and give him a whack and make sure we don't do that again. And it's kind of like protecting his players, leading by example and delivering bollockings when it was necessary. And while Keno had that night in Turin, and it was a magnificent night and it's a night none of us will ever forget, something that many of us don't know about because we have to look up on it if we weren't born then, was that night against Barcelona at Old Trafford in 1983. Where Bryan Robson had that kind of performance where United needed to win against Maradona's Barcelona as well. It wasn't just any old team. And he led out on that pitch, scoring the goals, helping us qualify in the night in a tie that looked pretty much done and dusted. And I think that was the epitome of Bryan Robson as a captain. But for club and country, he did it all. And as a footballer as well, he had it all in his locker, whether it was defensively, breaking up play, scoring unbelievable goals, chipping in with goals. It was just injuries that ultimately cut his playing time short. And if his playing time didn't get cut short, I fully believe he would have been the captain that lifted United's first Premier League trophy. He was still captain at the time, but I think he was kind of like Steve Bruce, who was captain, and they both lifted the trophy. But Bryan Robson's influence was felt around that club. It would have been felt on that team that he eventually lifted the trophy. And I don't think his impact on the club could ever be forgotten. So for me, one of, if not the greatest United captain, club captain. What are your lot's memories of Bryan Robson? Because obviously we probably he managed Middlesbrough for a period and things like that in the Premier League area.
Most of my memories come sort of via my dad of Robson, or my thoughts and my understanding of him, because obviously he left Man United, I think, the year after I was born. Was it 94 he left United, or 90, something like
around
that?
That time, yeah.
When were you born? 93.
I was born in 93.
Making me feel old, man. Yeah.
So, but like you said, the way that the foundations, that's the key thing, isn't it? When you're looking at teams and you're looking at even United now, and you kind of think, how many years are we away from that next title? How many years are we away? Who is in the squad that can be there when we win that title? And he was the person that was kind of the foundation, that kind of building block that everything else was put around to, like I said, he was kind of on the way out by the time we did win it, but he was what's changed the tone of the club from this team that was this sort of fallen giant to actually, no, these are serious again. These are a real team again. And obviously Ferguson coming in as well. But yeah,
it's won a European trophy as well, a Cup Winners' Cup.
Yeah. That was that not against Barcelona as well?
The final was, a few FA Cups in his bag as well.
Yeah, so it's not like he went trophyless by any means, but yeah, the setting the foundations for the most successful period in any club's history in England, and he was the main man to do that. Yeah, it's astonishing, really.
What do you reckon of Bryan Robson, Dean? What's your like how did you learn about him and things like that? Because you were born when I was born, around 89.
Yeah.
So
88. Well, yeah. 88. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was it was more looking back. I had old tapes of United, so I've got to see clips of him. And obviously, he does look like an immense player, but the only thing it's like I don't like to comment too much on players I haven't seen consistently. Well, obviously I never got to see him live, but I never got to see him play seasons and seasons. But everything that I saw of Robson, he looks like a tidy player, and like you say, he was probably on the pinnacle of being the first person for us to lift the title. For 26 years, but like I say, he looked like a great, from what I've seen. But again, it's just unfortunate. Like I say, in this debate, I actually lived through Cantona and I lived through Keane. Unfortunately, I just didn't get to live through Robson. But like I say, everything I hear about him and I've saw about him, he does look like he's top quality and probably could have played in any era. Tell you the truth, from what I've seen of him. Again, like, a lot of the old heads would probably be able to tell him better than I would, but he does look like one of those generational players that could have played in any era. Tell you the truth.
Again, midfielder that played in like a strict midfield too. Had to defend, had to attack. And England fans, like die-hard England fans that were growing up at the time, would have told you more about him as well. I think it was after a big win in Turkey when he was nicknamed Captain Marvel. So, like, yeah, man, what an absolutely astonishing player. Anyway, we've had a little chinwag about our captains. We're going to put this to a vote. So let's make our arguments. Like, you know, it's the last thing we're going to do. We get 30 seconds each. Is there any preference on who goes first?
Nah.
Jesus first?
I'll go first. Yeah.
You're the youngest on that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the youngest first. Right. Time is here. Wow, we can see all of ourselves in that, which is pretty cool. Where's start? Eric, I pressed it. Go.
Eric Cantona is the best captain Manchester United have ever had. He changed the culture of the club. He took us from being, you know, sort of not a laughing stock, but you know, this team that hadn't won anything in a long time and won us four Premier Leagues in 5 years, and then set up what was the greatest period in English Premier League and English football history. He came in, like I said, completely changed the culture of the club. And imagine now the captain that takes us to winning 4 titles in 5 years. How could you ever possibly say that person isn't the best we've ever had?
You done? Stop talking.
I've stopped.
You've been stuttering and flirting your way through 30 seconds. You have to talk about Eric Cantona, not bloody.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give people some current perspective. Imagine what it would be like now. And then imagine that it was twice as long, 3 times as long as that, 4 times as long as that. And then the captain that wins you those titles, the player that galvanizes that team. Come on. I got an extra 20 in there.
I was about to take a dig to that comment that you made, but then I realized it was about Eric Cantona, so I stopped myself. Right. Dean, you ready?
You're probably going to have like some kind of buzzer or something, so just to let me know when to stop, innit? But
I'm going to scream stop.
Okay. Right. So bear in mind, I got headphones
scream
on.
as loud as you can.
All right. Ready? Go.
All right. Go. So he bads up Vieira, bads up Haaland just for fun. Bitch that Shearer. 7 Premier League titles. Not single-handedly, but grabs a team by the scruff of the neck against Juve. Puts us in the driving seat to go and win the treble. PFA team of the years for Joe. PFA team of the century. Man of the match against Juve. Batted up Zidane, Deschamps, David.
Good.
Wins promotion as manager. Does it all.
Right, go on then, Adam. I'll do the timer for you because I bet you've got a slow 30 mode on that phone, haven't you?
Yeah.
So you give yourself 2 minutes.
Just for me. Right, you ready?
I will be in a sec. Watch this. Right, you ready?
Yeah.
I'll tell you when to stop. 3, 2, 1.
Before that night in Turin, you had that night at Old Trafford where Bryan Robson single-handedly slapped up Maradona and Barcelona. But not only that, his nickname was Captain Marvel, for God's sake. He literally was nicknamed the captain. And he laid the foundations for what was to follow for Manchester United, helping that team edge toward their first title. He wasn't captain at the time, but he was there lifting the trophy. And it's Captain Marvel, for fuck's sake.
We didn't even have to stop you.
We needed the countdown
things
music
to say,
for that,
did you? Ran out of things to say. Interesting.
You know what it was, yeah? I said at the end there that he wasn't captain at the time. He was captain at the time, so I kind of threw myself. He was captain at the time. He just wasn't playing regularly. Sorry, mate. Time's up. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Bryan Robson, Eric Cantona, and Roy Keane. Who was United's greatest captain? Was it none of them? And was it someone else? Rio, Vidic, Van der Sar? Had some great ones over the years. We've had some Ashley Youngs as well along the way.
Yeah.
Anyone going to vote for him in the comments, you reckon?
Might get a couple. No, absolutely not.
Dean,
I was gonna say, nah.
Dean, where can the people find you?
Well, you can find me in my house at the moment because we're currently on lockdown. But
And
straight
he will
up
let you
behind
in
the
as well.
I will not let you in.
Oh.
2 meters. Even the Royal Mail stand 2 meters from a door when they drop off parcels. So, but obviously find me on Twitter and that's straight up the get at your boy in it.
Joe?
Over on Stretford Paddock on YouTube and at Joe Smith 93 on Twitter as well.
Make sure you subscribe to Adam McKola TV as well. Get joining. We finally hit 20 joins, which is good. If you want to be the 21st, then click that join button. Subscribe to Adam McKola TV. Get your comments in the comment below on who is the greatest captain of all time at Manchester United. And for now, I've been Adam, they've been Joe and Dee. We're out of here.